Today we'll be traveling with GoVolta, a brand new railway operator that is using older Belgian I-10 carriages and is having some routes between the Netherlands and Germany. GoVolta does things very differently. I'll show you all about this in this video as we travel on board of a GoVolta train from Amsterdam to Hamburg. So join me as we travel with GoVolta from the Netherlands to Germany. I'll be taking this train from Amsterdam to Hamburg, but you find them on another route as well. I'll tell you more about that in the video. For now, let's get this video on the track and let's roll the intro. And for this journey, I was traveling along the entire route of the first GoVolta train from Amsterdam to Hamburg. Even though Amsterdam is not the most obvious station for me to start this railway journey. Anyway, I traveled with domestic trains to Amsterdam Central railway station, where our train was perfectly lined up next to an ICE that was heading to Berlin, one of the other destinations of GoVolta. However, our train for today was heading to Hamburg, and I think it's much more interesting to highlight that specific connection because to Berlin there is already a pretty good train connection. I touched out with my OV chip card, what is a smart card for public transportation in the Netherlands, at the platform because, well, obviously I can't use this for the international train. GoVolta train tickets were only valid for their own trains, so not for connected public transportation connections. Anyway, this here is our GoVolta train coming in, being pulled by a Dutch locomotive of the 1700 series that will take us to the border. Originally, a locomotive that was able to operate both in the Netherlands and Germany was planned for this route. However, with a limited number of those locomotives available, and well, it comes with some more technical challenges, we had to swap locomotive at the border. The carriages that are being used for the GoVolta trains, or second-hand I-10 carriages, you can find in Belgium still nowadays. Originally it was also planned to have a kind of a dining car, but that wasn't finished unfortunately at the moment I made this journey. This was only their second day of operation and their first trip to Hamburg. GoVolta offers two different comfort categories, or classes. They call it economy and comfort. Basically second and first class. To be honest, the comfort or first class isn't that much better compared to second class, but I'll show you in a bit. Depending on demand, the trains can be longer, but our train today consisted of 8 carriages. If there would be 9 carriages, you need more staff on board of the train for security reasons, so this is why 8 is a kind of a limit. A couple of minutes before our departure, the ICE train to Berlin departed. That train will join us for a big part along the same route, however, that specific train makes some more stops along the way. While many commuter and intercity trains in Amsterdam were passing by, our train was held up a little bit and we departed about 10 minutes after the scheduled departing time. However, we arrived in Hamburg bang on time, and at some spots we even arrived ahead of schedule. Before I show you the interior of the train, let's take a close look on the route for today. Our train started at Amsterdam Central station and will make more stops in the Netherlands, in Amersfoort Central, Deventer and Hengelo. From there on, our train moves straight to Bremen main station, and the terminal station today is Hamburg Hamburg, what is not the main station in the German city of Hamburg. Our train was being pulled by a locomotive, and there's no cab car, so this means you have these great views from the back of the train. And I just absolutely love that, to see, well, the world passing by at the end of the train. And it's especially nice if you depart from a place like Amsterdam Central railway station. I don't know what the future plans are for this specific train, because Amsterdam Central railway station is still for most international trains the railway station. However, for the Eurocity direct trains that are going to Brussels in Belgium, they will use Amsterdam South station, what is also more and more relevant and can basically function as a second main station in the city of Amsterdam in the Netherlands. And I really have to say this, Amsterdam is nice, but if you plan to visit the Netherlands, really consider other places as well, because Amsterdam is way too touristic. And there are so many other great spots that are way less touristic. As we are traveling from Amsterdam to the border with the Netherlands and Germany, let me tell you something about GoVolta as I show you the views from the train and the way they are working. At this moment, GoVolta is operating 6 times per week from the Netherlands to Germany, and they do offer 2 different destinations in Germany. They go 3 times per week to Hamburg and 3 times per week to Berlin. Between the Netherlands and Berlin, you do find several direct ICE trains per day as well, and those trains do offer a way better, more premium product, but also pricier. GoVolta is focusing on the low budget travelers. And to me, the connection to Hamburg is most interesting, and this is also why I show you this connection, because there's no direct train yet apart from these GoVolta trains between the Netherlands and Hamburg. Normally you have to change trains in most likely Osnabrück, what is still very doable though, but a direct train makes it easier for a lot of people who wouldn't travel by train otherwise. And this is also exactly the target group for GoVolta. They're not targeting on the people who would travel by train normally as well, but they're really focusing on people who wouldn't consider the train otherwise. Therefore their entire approach is different as well. They work together with lots of travel agencies, and they are a travel agency themselves as well, so they do offer package deals to these cities as well. Not only to Hamburg and Berlin, but also to Hanover and Bremen, for example. However, they're mainly focusing on the Dutch market, but I think the German market to the Netherlands can also be very interesting for GoVolta. And for those package deals, I didn't notice a lot of them. And apart from that, you can also buy random individual train tickets with GoVolta, and this is also what I did. My train ticket started with only €10, but if you want anything extra you need to pay for this. And they act like a kind of a low budget airline. You also need to check in for your train. What's kind of unique, and yeah, I understand it's a part of their business model. If you forgot this, you need to pay an extra fee in the train. So please do this and don't forget this. This is a part of their business model. If everybody just has these €10 tickets, what most tickets were on board of this train, they will definitely go bankrupt soon. If you want anything extra, and I'm talking about selecting a seat, change the name, change the date of travel and have extra luggage because the normal luggage restrictions are quite limited, you need to pay for this. Basically quite some arguments why train travel is better than travel by plane. They just take it down and they take the disadvantages of traveling by plane and add it to the train. Well, at least they can offer tickets for very low prices when it comes to this, and their business model is based on people who forget to check in, and well, people need to pay the extras for this, and they really push you to the extras as well. And for this I purchased the extras as well on both ways. I'll dig in that a little bit later on, but at least for both ways I selected a seat reservation. And here's my really big point of criticism to the staff on board of the train, because on both ways someone was sitting in my seat. And I didn't make a big issue out of this. I mean, I'm filming a lot anyway, so if I, send people away from their seats and saying like, hey, I reserved this and, we'll be walking around a lot because I'm filming, that's also a bit awkward to me. So I just sat somewhere else. However, still, I paid extra for those seat reservations, and other people are sitting on my seat. And this is exactly the way GoVolta makes more money, by selling these extras like seat reservations, etc. I think the staff should check if the people who are sitting on the seats is corresponding with the tickets they have. The tickets were being checked though, don't get me wrong, but not well enough apparently. And I mean, this was only the first ride they had to Hamburg and the second ride GoVolta had in their entire history. So yeah, I can't judge them too much. But when it comes to the staff, I really have some strong points of criticism. To start off, check the seat reservations, because this is a part of the business model. This is how you make money, and this is also how the staff makes their money. Please do so. Also, the staff was being hired via an external company. Sometimes the staff, when they made the announcements, couldn't even properly pronounce the name GoVolta. I mean, it's not that difficult, to be honest, and this kind of really annoyed me, even though I really have to say, when it comes to friendliness of the staff, they're absolutely great, and a big shout out to them. I mean, the staff on board of the train was just really nice, I can't say this enough. But, being not even able to pronounce GoVolta well at some announcements, and also the level of especially German is just not acceptable. It's way too bad. And you don't have to speak fluently other languages. I think it's fine if you can hear that you are Dutch and you have Dutch staff on board of the train. But the level should be better at least. Especially on the way back from Hamburg to the Netherlands, there were lots of Germans on board of the train. And also GoVolta can be used for domestic routes within Germany. It's also interesting to travel with them, and they're basically competing directly with Flixtrain on, for example, the route Bremen Hamburg and GB, but also Metronome. Little spoiler alert, a video on the Metronome is coming up on this channel as well soon. And then something else, what's maybe more something I could blame myself for. But GoVolta is offering these different packages. For this route we purchased the €10 tickets with the whole full package on board of it. So this means I can have a free seat reservation, free change of name, change the travel date and have extra luggage. I purchased this for me, my wife and our kid. Our kid is still a baby, less than 1 year old, can't even sit up straight, and we still have to purchase a ticket for this. What is at least very strange, but it's actually unacceptable, and if you're traveling as a family, I think GoVolta might not even be the low budget choice anymore. Long story very short, my wife is originally from Taiwan and we just visited my family-in-law over there. Due to the whole situation in the Middle East, we needed to rebook our flight and came back a little bit later in the Netherlands. And therefore, we didn't travel as a family to Hamburg, what we originally were planning to. However, if I want to rebook my ticket, what was possible with the extra package I had, I need to select a new date already, and honestly I don't know when I want to travel with my family on board of these trains to Hamburg or Berlin. I think it would be nice to have something like a gift card or a voucher if you cancel your ticket, that you get the value of the ticket in a gift card you can use within 1 year, for example, to purchase a new ticket on board of GoVolta. It saves both GoVolta and me a lot of time because I need to contact the customer care every time if I want to rebook to a new date. So yeah, this might be something that can be improved in the future. Like I already mentioned, originally GoVolta was planning to have a locomotive, so an engine at the front of the train that is capable to operate both in the Netherlands and Germany. But due to some logistic, challenges, they didn't manage that, and at this moment there is a locomotive change in the German town of Bad Bentheim, what is at the border. During this ride there were lots of railway enthusiasts, and this is always something special, and especially railway enthusiasts love this. The new trains between Amsterdam and Berlin, not the GoVolta trains but the regular trains, don't have this anymore, and therefore the travel time is a bit shorter as well. But actually I kind of like this old-fashioned thing, changing the locomotive at the border. I hope you like this video so far, or that it's a helpful video to you. If so, please give me a thumbs up, I really appreciate that. Nowadays on YouTube you also see this hype button below the video. If you see that, please click on that as well. I really appreciate that. If you have some questions, feedback, comments, or even if you just want to say hello, feel free to leave a comment, of course. And at last, if you'd like to see more trip reports about more sustainable ways of transportation, the main focus for this channel is long distance and or international traveling. Well, this train definitely ticks both boxes. But if you'd like to see more, then hit that subscribe button if you haven't done this already. For now, let's continue with this video and get out of this awkward position. Back to Bad Bentheim at the border, where we get a new engine at the front of our train. And for the German part we were getting this Siemens Vectron locomotive. Well, you do find these Siemens Vectron locomotives in the Netherlands as well. However, the number of locomotives that is able to operate both in the Netherlands and in Germany is relatively low. And it was a bit challenging to find one of these locomotives, before the launch of the GoVolta services. But I think in a not too far away future, the locomotive swap will not take place at the railway station Bad Bentheim anymore, as far as I understood. Anyway, after the new engine was being put in front of the train, everybody could go back to the train again. And I think it's also time for me to show you the interior of the train. However, before we do this, let's take a closer look at the exterior again, and let's do this at the moment the train arrived at the railway station of Amsterdam. GoVolta offers two comfort categories. Comfort, what is basically first class, and economy, what is basically second class. At the side of the carriages it has been clearly marked in what comfort category you are, comfort or economy. Apart from that, at the side at the moment you enter the train at the doors you will find the carriage numbers. Our train today consisted of 8 carriages, but like I already mentioned, if it would be longer you need more staff on board of the train for security reasons. But if there will be more tickets sold, these trains can be longer. Originally a dining car was also planned on board of this train, and the dining car will be between the comfort and the economy class. However, unfortunately the dining car was not finished on time for this journey, and therefore I think it's really interesting to travel in a couple of months again with GoVolta on one of their routes to see how things have changed, and I hope for the good. However, when it comes to interior of these trains are rather simple, don't expect too much.
Speaking of simple, Simply Railway is also on board of this train. Hello folks! If you don't follow him yet, you can find him as well. It's linked to his channel and below my video. But he's way bigger on YouTube than I am, and he's definitely worth following. So if you haven't done this yet, give him a follow as well. And also watch and like his videos. Let's continue with this video for now.
When it comes to the interior of these trains, I mean they're rather simple, don't expect them much. These are older carriages that have been purchased from the Belgian state-owned railway company SNCB, or the Dutch abbreviation is NMBS. But I like them in a way. What I'm personally not a big fan of is that the seats do face each other. You will not find the airline style seats here. I mean, it's pretty simple. The amount of legroom is pretty okay, to be honest. I heard someone saying earlier on that there were in second class, or economy as they call it here, even some seats that have more legroom and some seats that have a little bit less legroom. I didn't notice that. If you know this, let me know in the comments. Anyway, seats do face each other. Yeah, once again, I'm not a big fan of this, especially not with traveling alone and I want to get some work done, for example. But I also heard some nice stories of people who, well, got to know some new friends and maybe their new partner because they were sitting opposite from each other in the train, and well, this expand their social network. So this can also happen. I already heard some positive stories on the way from Amsterdam to Hamburg. For the rest, they're not that special. You can't recline these seats, but they're well patterned. They're quite soft. For the window seats, you do find a sturdy table next to the window, and there's a small litter bin below that. Of course, you find the luggage racks all over the train for your luggage, and also don't miss out on the back ends between the seats. And that doesn't only count for this train, but for a lot of other trains as well. I'll show you in a bit. On the luggage racks you will find the seat numbers as well. You will not find sunscreens on board of these trains. However, you do find some curtains you can close to block out some sunlight on sunny days. These are older trains and they're not air conditioned. Instead of that, you find windows can be opened. I mean, I like that for pictures and videos, but it might be a little bit disturbing to other passengers, so don't do that too much, of course. And always, if you make some videos or pictures from the window, please be careful what's out. I also have a wrist strap for my phone or my camera. Yeah, and for the rest, there's not that much to say about this. Let's continue with the train tour for now. And like I mentioned, for luggage you obviously have the overhead luggage racks throughout the train, but please don't miss out on the back ends between the seats, and it doesn't only count for this train, but for trains in general. To be honest, I think GoVolta can advertise this a little bit better. When it comes to interior of these trains, I know there will be some small changes in the future as well, but they're basically still the same as how they were when they were in Belgium. This here is the economy or second class, and it's pretty fine. Switches to adjust the heating and also to adjust the volume for the announcements in the train can be found at both ends of the open compartments. Then you will not find power sockets or Wi-Fi on board of these trains. No frills at all. However, there are some seats at the end of the carriage that do have a power socket. Basically it's meant for the cleaning staff, so they can put a vacuum cleaner in here, for example. While on paper this train doesn't provide power sockets, there are some power sockets available, but that's very unofficial and maybe they will be switched off as well. However, since you need to pay extra for everything on board of this train, This might also be an extra business opportunity for GoVolta to just charge extra for those seats who are right next to one of these power sockets. I mean, I'm just saying, GoVolta, or you're listening, this way you can earn a little bit more. And for the rest, nothing extras on board of these trains. No Wi-Fi, no power sockets, officially, but well, I told you already. Just an older train offering an okay service for a very reasonable price. Unless you're traveling with a family, then this might be very unreasonable with GoVolta. And a dining car will be added to the GoVolta fleet as well soon. So I can imagine this adds up a lot to the entire travel experience, and once again I think it's really worth to make another video on the GoVolta train in a couple of months from now to give you a better idea of how it's really to travel with these trains. I mean, when I made this video once again, it was one of their first services and they just launched. And I'm sure things will be improved soon. Now let's do a toilet review. At both sides of the carriages you do find a toilet, and an indicator will display if the toilet is occupied or not. Green for unoccupied and red for occupied. And the toilets themselves, they are very old school. But what I noticed, at least the toilets I saw, that they were clean, and that's most important. There was soap available, there was toilet paper available, and if you do your business over here, you dump everything straight at the track. So you travel even lighter. At the vestibules, there are some extra litter bins, and there's also some extra space for luggage, pushcar, or maybe a wheelchair. Honestly, I don't know for wheelchair passengers how comfortable this train is, because they're definitely not easy accessible, and I don't know how GoVolta is dealing with the assistance at the railway stations. Now let's move on to comfort class. This comes in a 2x1 configuration, is basically the old first class. First class, or as GoVolta calls it, comfort class, comes in a classical 2x1 configuration. Also here, the seats do all face each other. Not a big fan of it, but if you're traveling especially with two, you have your own little area. Amount of legroom, I feel it's not that much more compared to standard or economy, second class, I don't know how you want to call it. I think it's quite equal actually, but the seats are a bit wider, there is maybe a bit more room in general. You do find reading lights as well. Hardly use them myself, but they are there as well. Seats can't be reclined though, and they're a little bit better well patterned. The armrests are really nice as well. Although at the moment you do have the 4 seats opposite from each other, the armrests in the middle can't be adjusted. It's something I would like to see as well. I mean, it's not a bad product, but compared to the price you pay for economy class, I think that's, well, a good value for money. However, for this trip from Hamburg to the Netherlands, I decided to book it in comfort class because I'm kind of still having a jet lag from Taiwan, and well, it's a long day traveling up and down, so therefore it's nice to have some little rest as well. Just like everywhere on the train, you will not find sunscreens, but there are curtains instead, and in first class these curtains do have a different color as well. Seat numbers can be found at the same spot as in standard class or economy class, second class, and for the rest there's not that much else I can tell you about this. It's a good product, but these are old trains, but they're still pretty okay. Well, one thing is for sure, these carriages will also be less busy, less crowded, so it's also a bit more peaceful to travel in here. But to be honest, the comfort level itself is not that much better compared to what they call economy at GoVolta. Something I maybe like to see as well is some kind of themed carriages. Like if you're traveling with kids, some kind of kids areas or quiet coaches. You can do this especially in second class or economy class. And for the kids areas, just put some patterned like board games on the tables and you're set. This happens in other countries as well. Apart from that, if you have special zones within the train, you make traveling a little bit more comfortable for the passengers as well. Maybe you can charge extra for some zones as well, like what they do in Sweden for some trains for the quiet zone. I mean, especially if you charge a little bit extra for the quiet zone, you know that people don't accidentally book in the quiet zone, what's also quite easy. I'm just saying this might be another way for GoVolta to earn a little bit more extra revenue because they need it and I think they deserve it as well. Something else I noticed in first class, or comfort class as they call it, you will not only have the light switches for the reading lights as you can see over here, but also for the bigger lights that are integrated within the luggage racks. I also noticed some wheelchair icons. Of course I'm curious about this, and I noticed right next to this, and I personally only noticed this in first class or comfort, but I think it's also in economy class, that some of the seats can be popped up and this way you can have extra room for if you're traveling in a wheelchair, for example. This way you put them down again. I basically noticed this because I could move some of the armrests over here. This while other armrests can't be adjusted. However, these trains do not provide barrier-free access, and there's also not an accessible toilet, so honestly if you're traveling in a wheelchair, I don't think that this is the best train to travel with. What is really a pity, because I mean it when I say that I think that train traveling should be accessible to everybody, no matter if you're traveling with a commercial company or not. The top speed for this train is 160 km per hour. But slower than most trains along the German section of the route. The route from Osnabrück to Hamburg is for the biggest part suitable for speeds up to 200 km per hour. This also means that we will be put aside at several moments to let other trains pass. Let it be no surprise, GoVolta is not the fastest way to travel between Germany and the Netherlands, and especially not to Berlin, because there you find way faster trains for sure. However, I really like GoVolta. They add extra services to, well, the Berlin line that is already very busy in the summertime as well, and they offer a new connection to Hamburg. Also, their different approach, targeting more on the kind of package deals, might be very interesting as well, because having package deals with existing trains, well, they are there. You find companies that do offer package deals, but well, the capacity isn't there yet, and this train might add up something to that capacity. I think GoVolta might also be interesting for groups in the future, for example school groups, etc. Because traveling with a group by train, and especially big groups, can be a little bit difficult sometimes. Anyway, I already showed you some views from the train between Bad Bentheim and Hamburg, and I will do that for the last bit of this video as well, but then without any voiceover. So sit back, relax and enjoy the last bit of this ride. Here, the train is arriving at the railway station of Hamburg Harburg. What is one of the major railway stations in the German city of Hamburg, but still pretty far away from the city center. Not the most obvious choice. You can catch local trains or the S-Bahn trains to the city center of Hamburg from here. I've heard that this will change in the future as well, but the capacity at Hamburg Hauptbahnhof or Hamburg main station is quite limited. How I liked this journey. To be honest, I think GoVolta is great and they do offer a good service. I really hope they're gonna make it, but there are definitely some things that need to be improved. Therefore, once again, I really like to make another trip report in the not too far away future with GoVolta again. GoVolta is a low budget train, but you can find some extra add-ons in terms of booking your tickets. But still, even with all the add-ons, it's still really an affordable train as far as I noticed at least. And yeah, there might be some pricier days as well if you're traveling with GoVolta. Especially if you're traveling with a family, it might be really interesting to compare GoVolta with the regular trains of DB and NS International. But once again, I think GoVolta offers a good service. They're not the fastest train, they're not the most luxurious ones, but they're pretty okay. And we just need more trains. At last, also the reason why we need more trains, let me show you a graph that shows the environmental impact if you're traveling between the Netherlands, Amsterdam and Hamburg in Germany by train, car or plane. And to be honest, I think the plane should be not even a point of discussion to travel from or to Germany if you're traveling from or to the Netherlands. But unfortunately, some people still take the plane. But with the current climate crisis, but also the energy crisis, what might be an argument for people who think climate crisis doesn't matter, we just need to change our behavior. And if you look at the climate impact if you're traveling on this route, by train, car or plane, the train only has a pollution of 4.43% compared to making the same journey by plane. However, if we take the train as a standard, what should be done more often I think, then it sounds pretty different. In that situation, the plane is 2,258.7% more polluting than taking the train along the same route. The car data in this graph is by the way based on the European average car and also the European average amount of passengers, what is 1.6. I mean, you shouldn't take this data black and white, but it just gives you a good idea about how polluting other modes of transportation are compared to traveling by train. Anyway, that's really it for this video. I hope you liked it or this has been helpful to you. If so, please give me a thumbs up on YouTube, I really appreciate that. If you see a hype button below this video in the comment area, please click there as well. I mean, this also improves the, searchability for this video, so people can find this video more often, and hopefully I can convince more people about more sustainable ways of transportation. If you have some questions, feedback, comments, or even if you just want to say hello, feel free to leave a comment. And if you'd like to see more trip reports about more sustainable ways of transportation, the main focus for this channel is long distance and or international traveling, then hit that subscribe button if you haven't done this already. See you on the next video.